Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today we are testing the new 900 Global Origin EX. If you like what we do, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Patreon. First impressions. From the jump, the motion of the 900 Global Origin EX is simply lovely. Racing fans will get this. Alright, well, I gave away my obvious enjoyment of tossing this ball, but let's get into more objective information on the 900 Global Origin EX. We've seen the core before in the original Pearl version, Origin. The core is a big, tumbly, rolly core. I didn't feel like it did anything crazy or spectacular in the Pearl cover, but I think it can be special in this new solid cover. 900 Global says it's a clean cover, but also not hard off the friction as a solid, and the early heavy rolling core leans into that concept. What that means is this isn't necessarily the piece you want to cover a ton of boards. Rather, it's a ball you can use for more direct trajectories and allow you to get a reasonably heavy arcing roll that doesn't cut off the friction. This ball fits in a strong defined, but you might say, hey, it doesn't look angular. Remember, defined is typically the core forcing the issue, and in this case, the core forces the earlier roll. Now, you can probably slot this in a strong control from a usability standpoint, and I'd like to get into that a little bit. There are nuances when it comes to strong, solid asymmetrics. Sometimes you get balls that show off their strength by reading early and making a strong arc. The Onyx Jackal from Motive is that style. These shapes don't appear lazy ever. They sometimes simply appear too strong. In other words, hard to keep on the right side of the pocket if the pattern is too light. On the other end of the spectrum, you have strong balls that do it via a big core, but the matchup to the cover causes them to read early and burn up and create a much smoother arc. For those type of balls, if the pattern doesn't have enough volume, it'll actually just go fairly straight, looking weak, which is not really the case. It's just the way it appears. I'd say the Rotogrip RST Hyperdrive is more like this. The Origin EX from 900 Global fits right in the middle of those two. A lot of what I said really applies to what Tyler saw. Pretty much all of it, to be honest, so no need to repeat it all. Tyler saw the same thing. A ball that wasn't too difficult to get down lane, but seemed to have a predictable, strong arc that gave him confidence it was going to roll up. And even while it doesn't always look like it grabs the lane hard, you felt really good about that light hit energy it was going to put through the pins. And just to validate this, I also tested on 39-foot, 30 mil flat junior gold pattern, and it had more length than I expected, but that smooth, strong arc that, when hitting light, scattered the pins really nicely. Tyler has been looking for a replacement for his RSTX1 for some time now, and he was really excited about the Hyperdrive. However, that was, like I said, way more tumbly than he expected, and he likes to cover some boards. And as I described in the earlier comments, it just wasn't the shape he was looking for. In comes the 900 Global Origin EX, and with no expectations, he immediately thought, this might be the replacement for my RSTX1. Finally, I think that's high praise when you feel like a new ball can replace a stalwart. Now, he hasn't used it in a while as it's old now, but this may revive the spot in his bag. Next, we have Brian, and yes, he had the same feeling and reaction Tyler and I had. I have to say, I sometimes am surprised by what Brian sees compared to Tyler and I. There are ball reaction types that I'm surprised don't work, and vice versa, but I've learned to expect the unexpected doing this for so many years. Sometimes the smoother, archier shapes for us just don't have enough oomph for Brian. But something like the Supernova, for example, works great for him, and it was just so archy and too strong through the fronts for me that once I moved in, it didn't work. But with the Origin EX, the ball just worked. He was able to stay close to the friction line around 10 at the arrows and had a strong arc to the pocket. I think any ball that allows him to do that was going to work well. It looked nice, especially as balls that kind of, like I said, allow him to straddle that friction line really tend to look good. However, the surprise was as he kept moving in, the ball kept going. There tends to be a limit for archy type balls in terms of how much angle you want, but Brian was able to go all the way to the third arrow on this 44-foot pattern and had no issues getting the Origin EX back and through the pins. It just gave him confidence that he had 5 board window through the fronts to play with, and that's plenty for someone as accurate as he is. The bottom line, this is obviously a first impression overall with about 10 games or so. But from what we all saw, this looks to be a very nice addition, not super far from, I'd say, the reality that was so beloved. And I love the red-yellow swirl on this ball that looks more like a solid color going down the lane. Kind of reminds me of the Ebonite Mission for those that might remember that gem. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.